Hey, what's up everybody? So this time we're actually going to be doing the Master Demonweb pits. This is the dungeon that you can get your perfect weapons from, the healing mitts, the provoker gloves as well. All these different rings that you can get, mostly for damage dealers, but you also can get your diamond abyssal loop from here that has that manticore bite. And then pretty much the best chest piece for tanks at the moment is that provoker chest piece right here. So what you'll probably want to do is get used to running this dungeon. You'll probably have to run it a lot to get that chest to drop at first, or at least I know I did. But you will also be able to kit out all your characters with all the extra drops that you get. So it's actually a really good dungeon to get used to, get the feel for. Everybody's pretty much always wanting to run one, so getting into a queue group should be no problem at all. So a few things about this boss is that her multi-hit tank buster is AoE. So as DPS, make sure you're standing behind her as much as possible. You also have a job as a tank here to try to keep her facing away from the DPS, especially during the laser phase, right when everybody's trying to call arties. I usually run to the side where the laser is going to disappear from and keep her focused that way. That way your DPS can stand behind her pretty safe while they're doing their thing. So speaking of that laser, it'll actually start just left of the main door that you enter, and every time it does a full 360-degree turn. What you'll want to do is there's certain points on the wall that I kind of mark or keep track of to where I know when to call arties. The biggest one being Demogorgon's Reach, because it does have kind of a ramp up effect. The rest of them you can kind of just call them as right after you cast your absolution and prepare to take that tank buster. The other thing is the meteors that she spawns, but it's pretty much just try to stay out of the red AoE circles and dodge the floating meteors as well.
You cannot trust your own eye!
So this is that yellow circle to look for right before she does her tank buster. Another key mechanic is that she will spawn falling meteors as well as those that follow you around. These, if you do take damage from them, do have a debuff. It's called Demonic Influence, and it does make you take increased damage from them, so especially as a tank you want to try to avoid those. As DPS, try to dish out some damage towards those floating meteors. They will explode, and when they do explode, they actually do a knockback effect if you're near them. So when you notice her run back to the middle like this, she is about to do her laser. So again, it starts in the same spot. The only difference is when she has her clones up. Good luck. There's 4 of them, but they all spawn in the same spot as well. So you see right about here, I'll call the Demogorgon artifact. And then just about here, I'll go ahead and start casting all my mitigation and call the rest of the artifacts. It usually hits all at the same time, and like I said, you can kind of chip away those bars pretty quickly that way.
How will you fare when you cannot trust your own eye? Yes, the fiery knight of the abyss! Your soul will burn in the fire!
Nice.
fair when you cannot trust your own eye? And fire and ash, there you are! Your soul will burn in the fire!
So this right here can get pretty tricky actually. You just want to make sure you have all your mitigation ready whenever you start attacking because they will swarm you. So about the second boss. First tip is to always watch for the hypo after Gromp phases at 50%. But speaking of Gromp, when he has that yellow shield, you pretty much want to wait till it's nearly depleted before you start making your arty calls, as that's probably the most efficient way of dropping those health bars. Then there's the biggest problem in this dungeon, and that's Orcus. He has a really wonky bug or mechanic, whatever you want to call it, that makes him just lock on and just rampage against a single target. I've run across a few videos that explain it a little bit better than I can, but basically around the 50 and the 25% mark, he will continually chase down a target that he last aimed at. The best way that I've found to mitigate this is to wait until he's used the red cone AoE and his green finger of death. Once he's used that and his aggro has shifted back to the tank, then you're pretty much safe to pass these thresholds. While doing this though, keep in mind that if you aren't paying attention to when the ads spawn last, it is possible to get a double spawn of ads, since he automatically spawns a group when he passes that 50% threshold. There's also a final DPS or heal check. What I tend to do is to communicate with the group to go slow around the 2 bar mark on the health and then stop when you reach that line. You let him bring his shields back up, slowly whittle them down. A perfect stop would be about 1.5 to 2 bars health. And then you also want to try to stop at about a bar and a half of the shield. Once you're at these thresholds, wait for the next group of adds to spawn. Try to kill them quickly while keeping everything you can for the boss burn. And once these adds are killed, the tank should try to bring Gromp to the middle of the arena so that when he phases there's no real time delay. What you really want to do there is call Arties as his first shield drops, and you should be able to clear this check with no problem.
Shall exact vengeance upon you all for this treachery!
Just for fun, here's another run that we had where we actually had too much damage and didn't stop in time. It got a little messy, we were able to clean it up, but there was definitely some scrolls used. Now, as for Loth, there's really only a few things to note here. Her hypo doesn't really quite align with her animation, so you'll kind of want to be very fast, or if you're unlucky and you are a Paladin, you can actually use the method that I'll explain later. As far as artifact calls, you'll usually want to call them right after the red AoEs. Try your best not to let that CC spider grab you. If you do get CC'd though and don't have a shielder, you'll most likely take a little dirt nap for a bit and have to try to regain aggro afterwards. So coming back to that method I spoke about earlier, using a Paladin's tab to negate the CC from Loth before her hypo, what you want to do as soon as you see that chase spider spawn in, you want to go ahead and tab as soon as you can, because it makes you immune to CC. And you see there how she tries to hit me, but I've had that immunity. So as soon as I see the immune pop up on my screen, I untab and start running away from Loth, because you can't really take the hypo and her multi-hit attack like that. I usually cast Absolution on that third tick, because on the fifth tick of those arrows is when you're going to take the damage. So right here I do kind of showcase how you can technically run tank her. When she's in her animation, you can actually kind of run away from her without actually taking the damage, because her animations take so long. The biggest one that this actually affects is that single target multi-hit, because that thing can dish out some serious damage if you just stand there and take every hit.
Even now, as you struggle, my web ensnares you further. Watching you stumble, it must be insufferable for you.
Just over halfway through, she will do the godly weapon phase, and that can be sped up with a little bit of luck. Usually your control wizard or a fighter can push the bulbous spider towards the axe, and that's when the rest of the team should focus on killing that spider. With Lady Luck on your side, you can actually skip this whole phase, because killing that spider next to the axe does deplete its bar occasionally. But as you can see here, we didn't really even have a pushback. So what I did was drew the aggro of that spider, got it as close to that axe as I could, and womp womp, didn't actually work. But of course, if that doesn't work, all your team really has to do is just kind of sneak around and kill off those silky spiders. Control wizard or fighter or even a cleric can actually knock those off the ledge here, causing them to spawn in the middle and making it easier for everybody, because your healer is going to be under a lot of pressure here as well. These little spiders you see all over the screen are doing a constant DOT, and even as a tank, they kind of hurt. So as a DPS, they're going to be dropping pretty low pretty quick. But the big thing to know about this godly weapon phase is just to keep in mind that after this there is another DPS check, so most groups choose to save their arties for that second DPS check. However, here's what it looks like when it's done correctly, and you do get a little bit lucky. So an important note about this shield right here is that it does have a 1-minute timer. If you fail to take that shield away from her, it will result in a complete team wipe. Also, her final shield is the same way, a 1-minute timer. Here's another little showcase of how you can run tanker. Of course it's not optimal because you will continually move, but you'll be a little bit safer. So one more little tip here. On this last check, you can actually keep the aggro of Loth and stay far enough away from her where she can't hit you, causing her to just simply look at you while the team continues to DPS her. video, just don't forget to like and subscribe. And I greatly do appreciate you watching to the end. I'll see you in the next one.